Hey everyone, I'm Jeff Whelan, the host of the WB Download, and I want to invite you and welcome you to our podcast. My brother and I own and operate Whelan Builders. It's a custom home building company here in Southwest Ohio. The WB Download mostly focuses on interviewing folks associated with custom building. We stray now and then to interview people who I think are interesting and to break up the monotony of the same old podcast. I also like to highlight things that are going on in my everyday life along with our businesses. I started this podcast to help people understand the custom builder world, but to also give people a chance to hear what others have to say and highlight their expertise and experiences in life. We drop on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month with a new topic and or guest each time. I hope you join us here on the WB Download and enjoy listening and hearing stories of people in and out of the custom builder world. Welcome to the WB Download. Well, hello again, everybody. I'm Jeff Whelan, host of the WB Download here with Whelan Builders. Hey, today is Tuesday, February the 11th, 2025. Man, we're rolling through it, rolling up on Valentine's Day. So any of you dudes listening out there who need to be reminded, it is Valentine's Day in just 3 days here. So do something nice for somebody, even if it's not your sweetie. Do something nice on that day because it's important to some people. It's a Hallmark holiday, by gosh. And so, hey, we've been busy. And a good indicator that Whelan Builders is busy is that means everybody else is not busy. And when everybody else is busy, we are not busy. It's just a crazy cycle of our lives. So we had a couple of starts that went on here. We started one out in Goshen, Ohio, that real big, nice ranch out there, which is the worst time of the year to start a house in Claremont County because it's just nothing but it's a mess. But we're trying to get through it. A lot of bad ground and a lot of things we're trying to do to secure the driveway just to be able to get in and out of there. We got another one over in Indian Hill that we had a dig day start on, getting pictures taken with the family. And we've been working on this one for a while. And when I say a while, it's because it's a septic system in Hamilton County. And when you do a septic system in Hamilton County, you have to, one, be crazy, and for two, have a lot of patience. And we were in permits for, this is the shortest amount of time I think we've ever been in permits for a septic in Hamilton County. And I think it was 6 months. So we were pretty excited about that, believe it or not. So we're getting fired up to get those things going and get another couple families, into their homes. And then we also had a house that we completed. And this one was up in Oxford and, just some super wonderful people, that we had the opportunity to work with up there. And of course, it turns out that we know a lot of the same people they know. Now, this deal, like most of our deals, comes through a recommendation from somebody else that we know. And this one came from a guy named Tim Brennan. And when I was a kid, Tim owned an electrical business called Brennan Electric. They did all of our houses, and they started working with my dad in the 60s and 70s, and so Tim is retired, but he knows these people, and he kind of he manages the whole deal with. He's got a couple of these projects. He does it for free because he's looking for something to do. But I was really really excited and grateful to be able to work with him on this because he had a lot of nice things to say, but he was also the one that made the decision, and he and I talked quite a bit, and he was giving me tips and different things how to do things. So I just wanted to mention that because I think it's really cool to be able to go back and talk to people and have them recommend us to build a house after all these years of doing business with them and just knowing their families. So thank you, Tim, for doing that. Hey, the Super Bowl's coming up. Actually, I'm sorry, the Super Bowl's last weekend. As I record this, the Super Bowl's last weekend, the Chiefs and the Eagles. Now, as I record this, I am going to make a prediction. And since Super Bowl has not happened, I'm going to say the Chiefs win because I am a Patrick Mahomes fan. Raina is a Taylor Swift fan. And Cody is just I think he's Patrick Mahomes, but he's also just a Chiefs fan. So nobody is, because when you're winning, nobody wants to continue to watch you to win. So we're looking forward to watching the game and seeing how things go. The other thing is we started having babies on the farm, and we started there on the first of the year, had a New Year's Day baby, and then we've had 2 since then, and we're waiting on 4 more. And they came earlier than what we expected because we're breeding to the bull. We're not breeding on a specific day. We put the bull in there 3 months at a time. He usually gets them all pretty quickly, but when we went to do our palpation, which is our calf checks, and with the veterinarian, She gave us, and it was pretty early on, she gave us some times that we felt like when we first were listening to him, maybe that we put the bull in there later than what we thought we did, but it turns out we put him in there at the right time. So, man, I just love having healthy babies on the farm because they're so cute and it's so fun. And especially with some of these crossbred cows that we've got, you never know what color they're going to be when they come out, and hopefully they have white faces and just kind of fun. So, but man, it just, this wintertime is just dragging on and on and on. And we are going through hay and we're going through straw. So we cleaned out the barn last weekend, and then we came down and we let it sit for a little while trying to dry it out. And then we just bedded it down again because this week we had freezing rain. After it lit up to like 50 degrees one day, and then the next day and the next night we had freezing rain, and everything got really cold again. So it's been crazy weather, just up and down, up and down. But I shouldn't say that. It's been down. And then it went up and then it went back down. So, here in the middle of February, let's see if we can't see some light at the end of the tunnel. Just so anybody else knows and wants to understand how things work up in Pennsylvania, I think, and I've always thought, Punxsutawney Phil is an asshole. And so anybody who needs to know that, let's just make sure that you feel the same way, because he's a liar. So he did not see a shadow, which means that we're going to have an extended winter. And I just don't know why I just don't know why he's still making decisions for us. So anyway, that's what I got going on in this world, and so much fun, so many cool things. Let's spin the wheel and see what topic we end up with today. All right, man, here we are. We're ending up on, what does this say? I'm always trying to figure out this equipment. Stairs. That's the topic of the day. The magic topic is stairs. So what do we need to know about stairs? Well, stairs are a huge part of Wheeling Builders. I always tell everybody it's a focal point. It's something we take a lot of pride in, and we want to make sure that we are. And I think of so many homes as chasing tradition. And traditionally, you look back and you see a grand staircase in hotels, in houses, in most of the places where you go. Not so much anymore with the elevator because the stairs are all hidden and people go back there to smoke cigarettes. But in your house, the main thing I think about stairs is making them welcoming, make them really cool, and of course make them wide. So a minimum set of stairs, you want them probably 36 inches. That's what you're going to see more in the production style houses. In our houses, I want them 4 to 5 feet, sometimes 6 feet wide in different spaces. And then I also want to concentrate on the species of wood. And in today's day and age, we use a white oak on our treads, and we use white oak on the railings. We do this because back in the day, we used to use red oak, which is a lot cheaper of a wood, less expensive, and it's also a wood where we were staining dark colors all the time, so it didn't matter. Now, as we move forward to today, most of the things we're doing with stains is a lot lighter. So you need that white oak material in there. And that's something that you need to pay attention to when you're thinking about building a house, because it's not cheap to put that white oak down there. But it does make things, more common to the rest of the house. Do you want the treads open or closed? And what I mean by this is when you look at the side of the stairs, do you have the opportunity to separate them from a wall or from another set of stairs to where you can see the actual step going up, next step, next step, next step. And then you put the spindles right down on the stair, and it just makes it a lot more classy. I think if you can do that, it's really cool. If it's closed, it's still really cool looking, really classy looking. But this means that it's either closed tread because it's in between two walls, or it's closed tread because as you're coming down to the end of the stairs, you have a support wall below it. And in that situation, sometimes we'll just put a cap on top of that wall and then put the spindles down, and that cap just runs with the pitch of the stairs. And then there's carpet grade stairs, which is just a plain old simple, very inexpensive set of stairs. And we paint the sides of it, and you put carpet on the treads, and that's it. Those other set of stairs that I was talking about, most of the time are exposed. They're stained on the treads. They're painted on the risers, which is the back part of the stair, and the stringer is the sides. And it's painted in those areas, or it's all completely stained. The other thing that happens is we'll put what we call a runner coming down through those stairs, which is a piece of carpet that's usually decorative, different than the rest of the house, very expensive and very neat looking. It runs down to the center of the stairs. And then, how do you want these stairs to go? Do you want them, we call it switchback stairs, which is majority of what we do, where you go down, hit a landing, turn, and come back the other way, and then you're heading down to the basement? Or the other thing is we do multiple landings, which is really neat. You go up to a landing turn, go up to a landing turn, go up to a landing turn. If you check out our website and you look at the River Bell or the Millard Fillmore, you'll be able to see a set of stairs that goes 52 feet from the top subfloor to the basement. And those things kick back, and it's really, really cool looking. So that's another thing. Or they could just be a straight run. And this all depends. The stairs are so critical and on the real estate that they take up inside the house because they have to go floor to floor to floor. And so that means everything has to line up. You want it attractive. You want it in a place where it's gonna make sense and not eating up. You don't want them in the middle of your kitchen or your great room. So you have to make sure where we're putting those things at. And when you start switching back and you start going to multiple landings, that makes a difference. Do they have a window in the stairwell? Our stairs in our office go up, and the landing has a window in it. In our house at home, the stairs cross through the middle of a window, which makes it really neat. And then other stairs, like in our Homerama house this past year, in Pickwick Place, the stairs you go up to one of the first landings, I think it was, heading into the second landing, and there was a transom window that went all the way across that whole area there. It lights it up, and it invites it. It makes it part of the house and makes it really cool. Look at the nosing on the treads. And again, I'm paying a lot of attention to stairs, not necessarily railings here, but look at the nosing on the tread. Do you want an eased edge? Do you want a rectangular edge? Do you want like a bull nose? How does that look for you with the overhang and how that all comes together? So there's where do you put them at? I mean, do you put them in the front of the house as you walk in the front entrance? And I think this varies for people's preference, obviously. But if you have a ranch, you can put those stairs kind of somewhere where it's not going to be like where they're blocking your view. If you have a 2-story, now they're going up and they're going down, so that makes a difference on location and how that enhances your view as you walk into the house. I love them, so I want to see them. But as you heard Kathy Wynant on the show a couple weeks ago, we put their stairs coming into the back of it's in the middle of the house, but they empty out into the back of the house. They're not on the front of the house. And this is really cool because of the design of the plan and how that all works out for their home. But again, it's just another option on what you can do with these things. So the railings are a whole nother subject because you have newel posts that you're dealing with, and big or small, square, round, painted and stained. The spindles are a lot of hammered metals, the hollow aluminum spindles. Different decorative pieces that you can put in there with twists and knuckles and straight runs, and some of them have some really ornate S curves in them. And then they go up to a railing. And do you want the railing square? Do you want it round? I mean, is it poplar? Is it oak? What is the species of wood that you're dealing with? In all the things that you do when it's a decorative piece and it's going to be stained, what is the species of wood? And that's really, really important for you to understand. Follow that species throughout the house. Don't put red oak up in the one place and put a piece of pine somewhere else and put a piece of maple somewhere else, and you're trying to match all this stuff because it doesn't work out very well. But so that's what I have to say about stairs. I know there's a ton more, but I'm limited on time, and I'm sure that nobody wants to listen to it any longer. So let's talk about our guest today. Today on the show, we have the folks from Ferguson Enterprises here. We have Sarah Muri and we have Mark Waflart here to talk about what we do, our relationship with them. And they are a plumbing supply company for us. They supply a million other things, but our plumbers buy all of our plumbing fixtures from them. They buy all their plumbing materials from them. And they have a really good relationship, which in turn has made us have a really good relationship. So Mark and I have another personal relationship. We used to live next to each other, and it's how we got to know each other, not how we started doing business together. But Sarah is the person who saved the day when Sarah comes along, and she is our representative over there. She does an excellent job, and you'll hear me talk about this a little bit probably in the show, how a representative can ruin your relationship with somebody, and it'll go bad until you get a good one. And then you want to keep doing business with these people, and you realize how much more they have to offer. Sarah's that person, so she does a great job. But both of them together, you're going to listen. And I always tell you guys how much I love doing these interviews, because you learn so much more about these people. And both of these folks have been at Ferguson for the majority of their careers, I think, and all of their career. So they've had almost like one job their entire life, which is pretty neat and says a lot about Ferguson. The only reason we don't buy other things from them is because we've had long-term relationships with other companies, and that's the only reason. And we enjoy doing business with those other people. And so I know that they, Mark and Sarah and Morgan want to sell us more things, obviously, because they are salespeople. But that's the only reason why we don't do more things with them. So without further ado, I just want to say, welcome to the show, Sarah and Mark. Come on in. As I said, today on the show, we have our friends from Ferguson, plumbing, lighting, appliance. You guys do so much different stuff over there. But our friends from Ferguson, Sarah, Muri, and Mark Waflart. Mark, Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for answering that question, Mark. Thanks for being here. So are you guys nervous?
No, not at all.
You don't get nervous. You probably had a couple of drinks at lunch. So tell us a little, Sarah, why don't you start? Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where'd you grow up at? Did you grow up around here? What's your story?
I spent a lot of my childhood out west of Chicago.
Ooh.
And then we moved around a little bit, ended up in Atlanta in high school. And then I went to Virginia Tech.
Nice.
And actually learned about Ferguson there.
Really?
And got a job before I graduated. And here we are a long time later.
And you've been here ever since then? You've only had one job in your entire adult life? So have I.
Yeah, it's rare.
So have I. How'd you end up in Cincinnati, dude?
So I actually started with Ferguson in Maryland, Washington, D.C. area.
Yeah.
In a great showroom there. Was a consultant for 3 years. And then my husband and I moved here in 2006.
Where'd you meet your husband at school?
No, I worked with his cousin.
Nice.
So I even met him through Ferguson.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Your life is really entrenched in Ferguson. These are things I did not know about you.
Kind of crazy.
One of the greatest things I like about doing this podcast is every time I'm interviewing somebody, no matter how long I've known them, I learn more and more about them. So it's pretty cool. Mark, tell us your story. Where'd you grow up at?
So I grew up in Louisville.
Yeah.
And I grew up before, apparently, it was a cool place.
Yeah.
Now, everybody that I talk to that goes to Louisville says, oh, my gosh, it's awesome.
They go down there for the weekend like Exactly. It's Nashville.
Yeah. I was like, it was just okay when I was a kid. Went to school at Kentucky.
Nice.
That was the school that let me in. And actually started with Ferguson my junior year of college.
Really?
I was the first intern
ever
that Ferguson had. They didn't have an intern program, so I forced the issue because I was desperate to get some money.
Yeah.
And I've been with Ferguson ever since.
Man. So like when you start in Ferguson, I think you guys we had this conversation when we were all together one time, and Ferguson has kind of like got almost like a combine, right? I mean, when you come in to work for them, they say, yes, come work for us. And now we're going to send you off to school and train you to do what you do, right?
Yeah.
You can't nod your head. You have to speak.
They have everybody can't see this. They have a management training program is typically what they called it. Ferguson used to be the second largest recruiter out of colleges outside of Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
Wow.
To give you an idea, there was such a lack of folks that really had any awareness as to who Ferguson is. And still to this day, if you don't remodel and you're not building, we're not still a household name.
Right.
So we went out and recruited and got a lot of people that way.
Man, that's huge. I always knew Ferguson was a big company, but then when you get outside of wherever, Southwest Ohio, and you see every city and every place you go to, there's a Ferguson there. It's amazing. So you got a couple kids, don't you?
I've got one.
I thought you had more than one.
Well, that was my invisible kid.
Okay. All right.
The other one is 29.
Your real kid, 29.
The real one is 29.
Okay.
He lives in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
With a girlfriend.
Brooklyn, New York. Mm-hmm. That's got to be pretty cool. You go up and visit them?
I have. I love it up there. I don't think I would live there, but it's really nice to visit.
Is it rough around there, or is it nice?
No, Brooklyn, it's like you can walk everywhere. It's like a big old neighborhood with everything in it.
Huh.
Yeah, you walk to the restaurant, you walk to the laundromat, you walk to the bar, you walk everywhere.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You got a couple kids. You didn't mention them, right? Yep. I'm not going to tell them you didn't mention them.
My son turned 14 yesterday.
Oh, wow. Happy birthday.
Yeah. My daughter's almost 17.
Man.
Almost 2 in high school.
Yeah, that's good. That's what we're at 13 and she'll be 11 next month. So it's good ages to be in. So when we talk about Ferguson, I mean, how big is that company? We just talked about how big they are, but how big is it employee wise? I mean, there's got to be 100,000 something employees, isn't there?
35,000 employees. Mm-hmm. We have 1,800 locations. I tell people we're the biggest company that no one has ever heard of. we're a $30 billion company that's really predicated on world-class customer service and supply chain.
Man. But you do, I mean, also Ferguson, you go into one of the showrooms around here and they have plumbing fixtures, mm-hmm. commodes and mm-hmm. sinks and tubs and plus the faucets. You have lighting, mm-hmm. you have cabinetry, you have appliances and all that. But then the other part of it is behind the scenes that the customers don't really see is all the valves, all the piping,
right.
all the things that are above ground and some below ground in our houses. But then you also have like the waterworks department where the road builders are using that stuff. And what other divisions are there that I'm not thinking of? Is that it?
Yeah, really. Plumbing trade, HVAC. We're big in HVAC. So we supply really everything for the home and commercial projects with HVAC and industrial valving, pipe and valve, and then commercial, which is, schools, prisons, hospitals, all of the plumbing requirements for that business, as well as the residential side.
That's crazy that you can keep all that stuff intact. But anyway, Sarah, what's your role? What's your title?
Builder outside sales.
Yeah.
So I kind of like an account manager for builders, remodelers, mostly customers doing business with the showroom, but not all. And then I was a consultant in the showroom for a long time as well. So
it's not just plumbing. You do your builder's rep and you do everything.
Categories. Yep.
Yeah. That's important when you have multiple categories. And I do this with my payroll company and with whoever else it is. If I'm buying more than one product, I just need one person to talk to. If I've got to talk to 3 or 4 different people, I'm like, you guys suck. I'm not going to talk to you anymore. This is crazy. Because most of the time when I need that person, it's because I'm bitching about something, right? So I need somebody to listen to, to me. And what do you do? I know you don't do anything, but what's your role, Mark?
Thank you very much. So I am the area sales manager. And so if I have really good people around me, I have less to do. And I do. We have a fantastic staff. I basically run the builder group for Cincinnati and Columbus.
Man. So
everything that goes on under that umbrella, whether it's the showrooms, the outside sales team, our inside sales teams, et cetera.
So what you told me is you have very thick skin and very big shoulders to be able to put up with the egos that are trotting around the industry all the time. So what I say, a lot of people don't know this, but I think everybody knows it because I tell everybody that I talk to. Mark and I used to be neighbors. Mm-hmm. We lived next door to each other for a couple of years while we were on the interim of moving from our old farm, building our new house, and we lived in the house that we built next to you. And I, this is how good you are at your job. I had no idea who you were, and then we started talking and hanging out, and it turns out we've known each other for a long time, and we've been around each other for a long time. And of course, you've been in this business. I still can't get over the fact that you guys have both been here since you were little kids and in your entire careers. Is that pretty common? I mean, is there something that Ferguson is doing to tell you the company there's somebody's reaching out to you to retain you or anything like that, or they just make it such a great place to work?
Well, I think the recruiting process, at least they did when I was hired, was very much geared towards having a career. They were looking for the right type of person, and then they teach you the job, teach you the products, lots of training.
That makes sense.
But yeah, and for me, it's been great. They've been flexible. I've done several roles, throughout raising a family, and it's worked out really well.
Yeah. I think that. What about you? I mean, is it What is it? What keeps you there?
A big piece of it is they truly empower their employees to take care of their business.
Yeah.
So while we have a big umbrella of opportunity and services and distribution centers and trucks and all of that stuff, what I really love about it is they say, look, here's your job, go do it. And if you do it and you do it well, you really don't hear. It's almost like we have our own business.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of continuing ed that they do for you guys to learn about new products and things that are coming your way and different systems and stuff?
Yeah. Internally through the company in regards to business and how to do business and conduct business meetings, et cetera. And then the manufacturers.
Okay.
And the company helps us set up a lot of those meetings with manufacturers and special events and trips to factories, especially for our consultants, that type of thing, which we can talk about more later.
That's a question I always have, or I always get. People are always like, what's new? What's new? What's new? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't think it's new. I don't think it's fascinating, but it's probably fascinating to somebody else. But, and understandably, you guys are the direct link to the manufacturer, and these guys are either pitching you or they're not. They have to pitch you what's coming. I think that there's a break in the chain between, suppliers and builders on what's new. And I think sometimes that's because you got to be careful what you're pitching to people. You don't want them to think that you're pushing this more expensive, higher end product on them, and then they get offended or move away. But on our side of it, I'm begging you to tell me. I need to know more. I need to know more. Mm-hmm. Not that we have to include it, but what's new and what's happening. How do you figure that out? I mean, what is it? It's got to be somewhat fun, to see all these things, to see stuff. That's one question I had for you. Why don't you answer that? Because I have another question for you.
So as far as educating the builder, I think a lot of that's just, having relationships. I think we, pride ourselves on, especially my role, having a relationship, getting in there to talk about what's new, what's exciting. But a lot of it we do learn from our manufacturers and rely on them to update us, regular trainings, especially this time of year. KBIS is coming up.
Yeah.
Lots of new product launches and keeping us informed about all of that.
That's so important. The representative is so important. And what happens a lot of times is when you have a horrible representative, it ruins that thought process and that vision of that company. And so when you first got here, we all went to lunch and you're telling me all you're going to do. And I'm like, just pay the bill. Yeah, we got to get going. and I've had windows like that. I bet we went through 4 or 5 different window salesmen before we got to the point where we're like, okay, now we have a good one. We're not missing half of our window package. We're not shorted on all the prices. Nothing's true and all these things. And we finally get a good one. And now we're like, all right, this is us across the board. This is what we're doing. So I just think I can't stress that enough on how super helpful that is. So anyway, let's talk about our industry. Let's talk about what we do. I don't think I could work in a place. Oh, my other question was, sorry, I'm going to bounce back. When I used to work with some guys that worked for the Longaberger Basket Company, and I worked for a couple other guys that were working in a big company, and they would move them around. Like they could be weaving one day and then they could jump up to another spot. And we were talking about this at a cabinet manufacturer that we were just visiting down in Kentucky. And they move people around just to keep their interest, to make sure that they're learning all these different things, but to get tired of doing the same thing all the time. Do you guys do that at Ferguson? I mean, just like, I think there's a lot of specialty positions like what you do, but is there an opportunity at Ferguson to be able to do that? Bounce around a little bit?
Well, you can bounce around within the organization if you want a different career path.
Yeah.
But if you're in the builder group, as an example, there's typically some other opportunities in some other departments that you can do some things. We have a post-sale team, as an example, that manages projects, right? We have the outside sales team, which is really on the front side of retaining and capturing new business, right? Yeah. And then there's operations and accounting and all of that other stuff. So there's a lot of places that you can move. Typically, when we go through the management training program, they give you a little bit of all of that. Yeah. And then ultimately you kind of decide where you want to go, but it's not static.
Not like you can always come in on Monday and go, hey, I want to work the front counter. I don't want to do outside sales anymore. No, you can't do that. Somebody's already there doing that. That makes sense. I think it's really good to be able to be flexible like that, because when you're in a big company and you got good people, and you don't want to lose the person you hired them because of the person they are, and maybe shift them around. So let's talk about some trends in luxury plumbing fixtures. And when I say luxury, and the word custom pisses me off every single day because everybody uses it. They spread it around like it's paprika, and it's not. There's some very important things to luxury and custom. And we were on a call with NHB the other day talking about our financial sheets, and they're like talking about production, semi-custom, and custom. And I'm like, hey, it's either custom or it's not. Okay, it's that simple. And so I always ask our customers, what's your thought process? What's your definition of custom? So let's talk about trends in luxury plumbing fixtures. And why don't you describe to me, what do you think luxury means to you?
Oh,
Sarah.
Okay. You're looking at me, but not everybody.
I know. Sorry, not everybody can see. I don't want to talk to Mark. He's just. I thought he just gave you a ride here. I didn't really know he was going to talk.
I mean, I think luxury can mean, it doesn't have to be high end necessarily. It can be, a style, a design, something that feels good to you. I think we like a lot of people walk into our showroom and think everything is high end and expensive because it looks nice. We do a great job of maintaining a nice showroom, but there's a lot of variance in pricing. Even within a brand, everybody knows Kohler is a very good brand. Moen, we align ourselves with great brands, but there's a big wide range in pricing within each of those, and still great quality.
Right.
But there's a lot of times luxury also means ease of use, accessibility, things like that, things to make your everyday life easier.
Yeah. I mean, you have to know that, Mark, right? I mean, when you're talking to different customers of yours, and maybe they think they're custom, you have to make them feel like they're custom. But they're, you have to be able to understand these things to understand what products you're going to present to them, what products you're going to stock for them, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's got to be important. So back to my original thought process here. I'm not very good at staying on track. Trends in luxury plumbing fixtures. So how do you stay current? We kind of talked about that with your industry, but I mean, if something's new, like Sherwin-Williams comes out with a color of the year every year, does Moen come out with the faucet of the year, and does Kohler release something every year, or is it just kind of like, hey, it's new and improved, and here's what we're doing?
Yeah, they're always introducing new fixtures and new updates, but I would say plumbing is the slowest to change of our three categories.
Really?
Yeah. Like finishes and styles stick around for a long time compared to lighting, for example, that things are changing and going discontinued all the time. I have to spend a lot of time keeping lighting updated, whereas plumbing stays a little longer. Finishes get hot longer. For a lot.
Well, there's only so much you can do with a faucet, right? I mean, it's like
Kohler just discontinued a product that has been on the shelf for 20 years. Called the Devonshire. You probably know the name.
Yeah,
it is a household name. They just discontinued it. Where lighting might have a 6-month life cycle unless it's a very popular product, and then there's something else. Something else that comes down the pipe the next 6 months.
And that's wonderful for us, because if we don't order it in time and they picked it out and they can't get it, most of the time though, they replace it with something that looks similar, but they changed a component on it or something. So when I think about the plumbing fixtures and the different things that go along with it, I think about those companies. They've got to have almost like these mad scientists sometimes doing research somewhere, right? I mean, they're coming up with newer, innovative ways. When we started getting very eco-friendly, and they had to produce a faucet that only operated at so many gallons per minute, and then they also had to produce the faucets that withstood 70 psi is what they want us to be at, and all of the municipalities were pushing. Sometimes depends on how close you were to the tower, but I mean sometimes it was 100 psi or more, and it's something that aggravates everybody because you want more water and you want more pressure, and the government saying no, we can't do that. Right. So there's people doing that. And I think about Moen inventing that. I don't know if they invented it, but they made it, is that water leak detection that you can put on your water main, and so that people don't think about that. They're walking into your store maybe thinking about, I think about my master bathroom, and I think about this powder room and stuff, but think about all the other neat components that go in there. A lot of neat stuff happening there, wouldn't you think?
Absolutely. And that interactivity is a really big push from the industry in general, and not just on the plumbing side. Appliances now can talk to you. Appliances can text you and say, hey, I've turned on and whatever, right?
Yeah.
And now we're going to start insert the probe for X. And so you can really keep an eye on not only your water, right? Or a shower, or start your steam shower, or whatever it is you want to do. And you can do it from your phone in a lot of instances. And I think that will only get bigger.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. It's amazing to be able to do those things. We have that U by Moen, and it's a digital, push button thing that works in there. And that's several years old, but it's still really neat technology that just sets your temperature. You hit a button. And if you're old like me, you have to have your glasses on to make sure that you're not going to scold yourself when you get in the shower. So
one button's a good thing.
I know, it's pretty neat, isn't it? So let's talk about it. What are the trends? What are you seeing?
Definitely a lot of like bidets and a lot of smart technologies that are coming out. Touchless or, touch to turn on faucets, motionless or motion activated. I think bidet seats got really big during COVID and are just continuing along with the smart toilets, toilets that you walk up to and the lid opens for you and senses you and all of that. And then the digital showering is really popular. It just continues to evolve. They have engineers continually updating, and especially, companies like Moen and Kohler, continuing to come out with new products and new updates, steam showers that you can integrate, lighting and aromatherapy and speakers and
you talk about luxury versus, production versus custom and stuff. I think that these things that you're talking about are the definition of luxury, because it's probably expensive, but it doesn't need to go into a great big expensive custom home. If you want to do a steam shower, you can do it in $100,000 house if you want to. And that makes more sense. Like what you were describing before, is a luxury is something that, is available to you. You made this, and this is something that makes you feel comfortable. This bidet thing is amazing. It's been in Europe for like a million years. And so when, I don't know what year that was, it was probably 2016 or 17. We had somebody that wanted to just put Toto toilets in the whole house. And I got to the builder show and I walked into their booth and I'm like, you got to explain this to me. How's a commode $4,000? And the guy's like, well, come on, walk with me, and basically at the end, he goes, once you've tried it, you'll never go back. You'll never go back. It's so awesome, and Toto is a toilet where, you have to plug it in. And you have to have an outlet, which is weird, and then which was weird, and then now it has a warming seat, it has a flush thing, it cleans it, and it cleans you, and it does all these things, and it has a dryer on it. It's amazing. So that's a luxury item. I think that like what you're talking about. I think that you're right. When I'm talking to my painter and he's talking about getting one of those toilets, I'm like, I don't think we had to have this conversation. This is a different. Now I think differently of what's going on. So what else? What else is new? What else is cool? Anybody? That's it. All right, let's move on.
That's pretty much it. Matte black is a huge finish. That's relatively new. Over the last few years, matte black has exploded. Yeah. Golds are definitely hot. Not your mother's polished brass,
right?
But a lot of different golds in the marketplace.
Remember, we did a house in 2020 where all of the fixtures were that brushed gold kind of whatever you want to call it, but every fixture that came out with a pair of white gloves in a box. So when you're putting it together, you have to have these gloves on so it doesn't have fingerprints all over it. And I was like, man, this is funky. And then it seems like it's taken off ever since then. It's really cool.
For sure.
Yeah.
Another big thing is water filtration too. We just put a bottle filler in our showroom that is meant for the home. So things like that, point of use, filter faucets, whole home filtration. That's a big trend now.
People aren't just relying on their refrigerator anymore. They want more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew, now that was a high end thing that was specific for people that wanted it. And I knew a couple of people that had it. It was a filtration system, and but they were washing their cars with a certain kind of water so it didn't spot up, because they had very expensive cars, and then they were filtering the water that they were washing their clothes with, and just so on. There's so many different preferences that come to that you just don't realize. And I think that the only way you learn about that is if you live in a place that has horrible water.
Yeah.
I went to school in Worcester and I worked in Johnstown, and all we had was wells all the time, everywhere we went. So there was no drinking out of the hose, and you always felt nasty. So I understand where they're coming from. But what about customer preferences? Does the customer preference and the trends, do they align with each other? Do they balance out on the scale? Or is the trends always, not trends, but the new ideas stay ahead of the customer? How's that work out?
I think usually the buildup of the new product over a period of time gets the client's interest first, right? Yeah. And obviously for our consultants and as we go through a professional consultation, the big thing about our job is let's talk about all these things, because what most people are used to might be a decade old, right? Which wouldn't be uncommon at all, versus what's out there now. And why should you at least consider some of these things? So I would say the trends are ahead of the curve usually, which is probably how it should work, but not always.
Yeah. I think that's probably very difficult because you have people who are all about embracing change all the time. And they're wanting to, I mean, obviously with that stupid looking Tesla truck that people want things like that, I'm like, let's go drive around an aluminum box. Yeah, I got to have it because it's new. And other people like me who think it's stupid to change like that or something. I wonder how all these big manufacturers balance that with the naysayers and the people who grasp it, and then how soon does you hope that the people who grasp it take off really quick, because then they can start showing other people. It's difficult to look at new things. I mean, when you've been used to this, like when we made the difference between brass and chrome, that was the only two choices you ever had. Right. And then it started getting into brush nickel and oil rub bronze. Mm-hmm. And then, as it evolved, and then it turns around and goes back to gold and black. I mean, those things are, you almost have to see it, and then you hope that people put it out there and people lay onto it. So, I would agree. I think that, functionality, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but we see different spaces that people are using. Then it's not just a kitchen and a bathroom anymore. I mean, it's a powder room, which is like one of the funnest places in the whole house to decorate and do things with. But now our kitchens have a back kitchen to it. And so it's a kitchen, and then you have another pantry that's also basically another working kitchen. Does that come into play a lot with you guys, what you're doing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. With appliances, with sinks, with faucets, with hot water supply lines running over to it, instant hots, and all of that. I mean, everything's right there. It's amazing what people are doing. We spent on that house that we're doing down on Drake Road there. We spent 5 hours just in the kitchen or in the pantry design. And the pantry's got more cabinetry and I think plumbing in it than the kitchen does. Yeah. It's insane what happens. So those are some different things that happen quite a bit. What about supply chain and availability? I mean, how do you guys handle the supply chain challenges, especially right now when you've had disasters happening all over the United States? That's the one thing that people keep coming to me and saying, when's this going to hit us? When's the prices of lumber going to go up? When's the shortage of materials going to happen? And then when Mr. Trump, who everybody begged to get in office, is coming around screwing everything up for our supply chain issues by putting tariffs on everything, how does that affect you?
It's going to affect it. It'll affect us, and it'll affect all of our customers, right? Ultimately, the person that pays is the consumer, right? Right at the end of the chain. We learned a lot during COVID. We learned what we shouldn't trust manufacturers with, right? They're good at making stuff. Right. They're not good at making stuff in a timely manner, right? And then understanding when it's going to be available. Oh man! And as the conduit between our trade clients and our consumer clients and the manufacturer, we were put in an impossible position. Yeah, everybody wants it, because everyone had to do something, right, during COVID, or else everybody would have gone mad. Yep. So they wanted to remodel, they wanted to build, they wanted to do all of that stuff. The manufacturer wanted to make it, but they couldn't. Yep. And there we are right in the middle trying to manage and figure it out. So one of the things we've done that has come out of that is we have a post-sale group that does nothing but manage projects. So when you talk about what does Ferguson do, we're a project management company. Right? Our entire goal is to make your projects easier. Yeah. And that starts with a consultative approach, but it also starts with understanding how our trade clients like to communicate, right? Who's going to run this particular job? What's the timetable on this job? How do we make sure that the products that are being selected are going to be available at that time? And if they're not, we now have an entire group that can forecast out and say, hey, this might be a problem. Let's reselect now, as opposed to waiting until the customer's already ready to move in the house. We say, oh, by the way, we don't have this yet. So that was one big change that we made. And so far we've had some fantastic response from the market.
Yeah. Customers like that, by the way. If you wait until the last minute to tell them something's no longer available, they think it's funny and they laugh about it. But everybody, you go back to the tougher times in your life and look at the amount of information that you learned, as opposed to when things are rolling along pretty good, you have the tendency to forget. And I think about the recession, and I think about COVID and the different things that we learned in those times. Is just amazing. But like back to your point, I think that we learned in COVID how much stuff that we do not make here in the United States. And even if we are putting it together, we're not getting the parts for it here in the United States. And when it's sitting on a boat in the middle of the Gulf of America, then you can't get it. And you're like, holy cow. And the other thing I learned in COVID is that how much heartache does a person who was a non-essential person right. Like you're an essential employee or you're an essential worker, and then if I was sitting next to somebody who wasn't, I'd just look at him and be like, you suck. If I were you, I'd go to the bar. Right. I'm just kidding. But we realize that every position is so important. I mean, that put these things together, and the things a lot of the things that we were lacking was because the lack of the manufacturing and the people they had put in place to put all that stuff together. So, what strategies can a builder like us, or even a production builder, what strategies can we use that are going to better your timing and help with the delivery and inventory and all those kind of things?
Communication.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably the most important. Just keeping us informed on what your timeline is, when you expect to need things, how it changes, because we know nothing goes as planned.
Right.
And that's, like Mark was talking about, our post-sale project management team. That's what they are tasked with, is regular communication for that particular project and when things are going to be needed, so that we can forecast and have it here in time, but not sitting too long.
Right. That's a huge. I was just talking to one of our suppliers this morning about it. And how do you have to have the real estate to be able to put things in to hold it for them, and then how long is too long, and it's man, that's got to be such a tough balance. I bet you listen to a lot of complaining.
Yeah, we've put some good things in place, though. A lot of that, I think, came from COVID and what we learned through that process, and it's makes our life easier. It makes us perform better for our customers, and it's been a really good thing.
Yeah. And during COVID, if people would have known how much money and inventory was sitting in my barn in Lebanon, Ohio, I would have been shot and killed. And I mean, because people couldn't keep it and they couldn't do things with it. And we had lumber and appliances and fixtures and everything sitting up there because we had to take it. Otherwise, I mean, people got downright ruthless, and we're just going to sell it to somebody else if we didn't take it. And it gets nuts. So yeah, we learned a lot too. So the collaboration with builders and what's your approach with working with us and working with our designers and working with our customers? How do you guys handle that?
Well, either Robin or Kelly, your designers will make an appointment with Morgan to bring the homeowners in to make selections. Mm-hmm. You guys do a really great job of having a preset budget that is realistic, which is wonderful. And I think your designers and selection coordinators do a good job of coming in with an idea of what that style is. When you come in and you're ready to actually start making selections, it's really important to kind of have a little bit, at least, of a vision and kind of what you want that room to look like. Otherwise, it can be really overwhelming, just looking at all the options.
Right.
And then our consultants do a very good job of, kind of taking that starting point and budget and kind of going from there and showing the different options. And asking a lot of important questions about, how they want to use the space and what they, not just the look, but also how they're, planning to use that space and the products.
Yeah. You make a good point there, and you bring up Morgan, who is the inside sales rep, right?
Yes.
Is essentially what. So you're basically our rep, and then Morgan is the person who's working with our customers as they come through the door.
Correct.
And she's in the showroom and she's meeting with them and taking them around. And one of again, as a partner of Wheeling Builders, I don't want you, the customers walking the door and just buying a faucet from you. And just like what you described, it's so important to understand how often do you cook and what are you doing with this powder room and how many people are coming and going and what's your vision for it. And understanding it. You're not selling them something, you're creating it with them. And I think that's what we want. I mean, I talk to our lighting people about it. I talk to our appliance people about it. I talk to everybody, our painters and flooring people. That's what we want our customers to experience when they come with you. And that's the difference between luxury and production. It's not here's what you get, it's what you want. What do you want?
And we don't, yes, we sell products, but that's not our primary service, right? Mm-hmm. We are there to provide an outstanding experience. We're there to educate and we're there to help manage projects.
Yeah. And that's huge. I mean, and again, you and I'm sure that there's probably a level, and you and I had talked about this. There's a level of customer that if they just want to buy something, then you say, hey, here, go to www.whatever and buy it. And you're still buying it from Ferguson, but you don't need no help because you're an expert. Go do it. And then there's people like us and like me with everything I do in my life, I need help. But I mean, the people that come into your store and come in to see you, it's not because they're just buying a plumbing fixture or they're buying a light fixture or something. It's because they want the experience and they need your guidance and they need help from the experts, which is really, really important to do. So, I think that the other thing I was thinking about too is you have two different customers, essentially three different customers when you're talking to us. You have our customer, you have me, and you have my plumber. Mm-hmm. And so my plumber is, the reason why I use him is because he's a hillbilly redneck just like me. And I really like him. He goes, at Christmas time, I was wishing him Merry Christmas. He goes, hopefully we're doing a good job for you. And I said, you suck, but you're a hillbilly and I like you. He goes, oh, okay. No, I'm just kidding. They do a great job. But he's got his sisters down there who are taking care of things and putting things in place and ordering them from you. That again is another essential part of your business, is understanding how they do things because they're the installer and you have to know how and I want you shipping the stuff to them and then they're shipping it out to the job site, understanding what they need first, when they need it. Pricing is a big thing, how you're going to price it to them, how they're going to price it to me. How does that work? I mean, is that a hang up in your whole deal?
No, a lot of it is just understanding that process and who's going to be purchasing. Because we do sell to the walk-in homeowner who just wants to buy a faucet. We will help them and we can do that. But it's different for the larger projects and just knowing, we know your plumber very well. We know now how they operate. It's a relationship. Mm-hmm. And it works well once we, all talk about how it should go. I
agree. Brian Kramer is their plumber, just so anybody wants to know. Anybody wants to steal him from me, he doesn't need any more work. He's busy enough, just so you know. But they do a fantastic job. Their whole family works there. They've always worked there. His mom and dad were the ones working there. His brother-in-law works there. But that's a good point. We tried to experience that a couple times where we were buying the fixtures and trying to cut out the middleman and save money, and it doesn't save you any money. It's because I'm not the plumber and I don't know what I need, and even if you ship it to me, then there's so many different components that go along with just a plumbing, just a powder room faucet. You think about the supply lines, and you think about the valves and all the discussions that you need and the spread on them and everything's. Yeah, I know some of those things, but I don't know the number that I need, and they do. So if I screw that up, they're going to kill me. But talking about the collaboration with the builders, I think that, man, it's just I really appreciate what you guys do. I want to make sure that you understand that with the customers coming into you and going through that experience. If one of our customers came in, so let's talk, hold on. I want to back up because you mentioned something about that's a fine line when we put together our allowances for our customers, mm-hmm. because what they expect in a wheel and home. And so I'm listening to them talk, and we could say, okay, well, here's how many plumbing fixtures or outlets that you have in your house. Here's what you need, but we know that you're going to take this. So where I run into trouble at probably sometimes is that we're a custom luxury builder and we're a high end builder. And Cody's is a couple of times. I tell this story all the time. Cody has some friends of his. He says their parents want to build a house with you, but you're too expensive. And I said, well, let me make sure that you understand something. We are expensive. We're not too expensive. We're expensive, and it's a certain line of a home that you expect. And it's not like we're making more money than everybody else in the world. We're providing a different product. Mm-hmm. And so I want to make sure that we're doing that. And the gig of the building business is, I think everybody's concentrating on a low number on the front end. And you guys probably deal with this too, is where I don't want to spend that. I don't want to spend that. Well, you don't even know what you want yet. So we want to try and prepare people to say, hey, you might be able to get it done for $10,000, but we're going to give you a $20,000 allowance. Now, does that push me out of the market? Does that push me over their price point? But knowing that they feel more comfortable in that, that's a really tough balance. Do you see that a lot? You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah. And we see, every range of, people either don't want to tell you a budget, or maybe they have a budget from a builder that makes it really tough to work with.
No.
So when I said, having a realistic budget, I mean, a lot of that's just thinking about, if you want a freestanding tub in your master bath or not, that's a huge difference in price there.
Yeah.
Things like that. If you want to go digital, if you want, certain luxury products that, aren't probably part of a builder's regular budget, it's important to, I think, talk about that early on to set expectations.
Do the Lowe's and the Home Depots, Menards, and the internet, does that hurt you guys? Not hurt you, but make your job tougher when people come in and they say, well, I saw this faucet over at Home Depot for this much money.
Oh, yes.
It can, but we have a very large online presence through build.com, and we understand the question. Mm-hmm. And that's really why we prefer to get those folks in front of our professional consultants, and they can really talk them through the differences in the products, which there are in some cases some very big differences in some of the products that are sold and what it is exactly that they want. And to your point, most of the time they just don't know, right? Because so few people have built a new house, relatively speaking, right? Or done a remodel in the last 5 or 6 years. I mean, there's always new people that just haven't experienced, shopped for, or had these products before that are now new into this, the process.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's tough with anything that you buy, and it's got to be buyer beware. You have to do your homework and understand these things. And unfortunately, when people come and talk to me, I feel like they should have already done their homework before they walked in the door. And I think they do, but I don't want them coming to talk to me and going to talk to 10 other builders, because I'm like, I'm out. All right. I'm not a commodity. Either you know about what we do or you don't. I'm not trying to be an egomaniac about it, but I think that there's a certain level that you have to be there. But I think that for me, if I'm going to buy a new car and they all have the same new car smell, I fall in love. And it could be a Kia or a Bentley. And I'm like, this is nice. Man, check this out. So you got to make sure that you're explaining the difference to them. I had John Sauerland on the show 2 years ago, I think it was. And we were talking about the same headaches that you go through. Mm-hmm. His big sell point is that take a Moen fixture that's in Lowe's and take the Moen fixture that we're getting at Ferguson, and the box that we're getting at Ferguson weighs like 5 or 6 pounds more than the one at Home Depot or Lowe's. And so it's different products that are supplied to those box stores as opposed to what the pros use and over at Ferguson. So that's a really big point. The internet, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it used to be, it doesn't matter where the information was coming from. People get their information. And so it used to be, and if I'm talking too much, just smack me across the face, because this happens a lot. I should just shut up. But it used to be like you'd hear a guy say, well, my brother shoots pool with a guy on Wednesday nights whose brother-in-law was a heating and air conditioning guy, and he told me to do this. And I'm like, really? Is that where you're getting your information from? But what's the difference? If they're reading Facebook, my dad thinks that everything that's on Facebook is real. Mm-hmm. And that's not true. So anyway, let's talk about a couple different things. Let's move on if you want to. Do you have anything else you want to talk about? I mean, you've got notes over there, and I just want to make sure I'm not skipping over anything. I'm talking to Sarah, by the way.
No, I'm good.
How about you, Mark?
I want to talk about a lot of things, but none of it is related to what we're talking about right now.
Let's talk about it then. That's what the beauty of this podcast is for. I feel like we are getting very entrenched in just question after question. Let's open up, man.
I feel good that it's 60 degrees today. This is good. I should be wearing a t-shirt.
It is nice, isn't it?
Yeah. It's beautiful. Yeah.
You want another beer or whiskey or anything?
I'll just take one more whiskey, and then you can ask me more questions.
So what kind of advice would you give homeowners that are navigating through so many different selections and different thought processes? And this is kind of the theme of what we've been talking about here today. What advice would you give them on, especially doing that buyer beware, that homework? Where do you think they're going to get their information from?
Well, there's a lot of tools online now to get inspiration, get ideas. Our website, build.com, is a great place. Pinterest, things like that. But getting an overall idea of, especially kind of the style, there's so many options out there. So at least having a starting point is really great. If you know finishes, it's another thing that can really change a budget. So yeah, chrome versus everything else, especially in the plumbing world. But I think just, having an idea, coming into our showroom just to look around. I mean, we're open 6 days a week and anybody can come in anytime and just get ideas, get the ball rolling. And that way, once you, make that appointment, sit down with the consultant, you're really ready to, learn some more details and make your actual selections.
I would agree. I think that there's websites out there that are specifically made, like Howls and Pinterest is okay. You get to see what somebody else did. But I think when we call a house, like if you walk through a house, I'm like, it's too Pinteresty. And it's like, look at what I did, Mom. And that's just not good.
Yeah.
But you get, at least you can see different finishes and get an idea on what somebody did. I always ask people, I'm like, I wonder who the originator was of the idea, like where somebody mixed this with that. And it just was like, man, that looks pretty good. Very creative people in our world. But what are some of the most must-have plumbing fixtures that you've ever seen or seeing lately, I guess?
Steam Steam has been around for a while.
Yeah.
They continue to upgrade not only the availability of different products in regards to steam, but I think they're making it a little bit easier as well to install with different fixtures. That's going to be good. A lot of the health forward stuff, sauna as an example, right?
Yeah.
A sauna room or steam showers,
like a built sauna, not a purchased one.
Right. Are continuing to gain in popularity. Right. Everybody wants to do cold plunges.
Ugh.
So now we're going to have cold plunge tubs, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Deeper soaking tubs for cold plunge. And then you've got the steam, again, health. Then you've got a sauna, kind of the same thing. So those are emerging again as popular items.
Do you do a cold plunge? Have either one of you ever done it?
I just did it for the first time a few months ago.
Did you? Did you like it?
Better than I thought I would.
Yeah, I guess so.
I really didn't even think I would do it. And then I kind of felt pressure to try it, and it was great.
Have you ever done it?
No,
I've never done it either.
No,
Alan Schmidt Jr. does it all the time, and he loves it. And I'm like, well, whatever it was supposed to do for you, it's not working. So, but he swears it's just like taking a load off. I mean, like when in the morning, if you're stressed out, or in the afternoon, and he feels so much better when he comes out of it. And I'm like, I don't think so.
Yeah, you definitely get a sense of euphoria after. It's kind of wild.
I've got a wood burning fireplace in my great room, and that's what I think about when you think about cold plunges. I'm thinking about how cold I am when I walk in the house, and I'm like, next to the fire.
Cold plunge is a relative term anyway. How cold does it have to be? I mean, I'll turn my shower down a little bit. Does that count? Cool.
My shower set it up 102, and if it's like 90, it's got to be a cold plunge, super cold plunge. I think it's crazy that one of the number one things we fight against as builders is moisture and intrusion and extrusion. And so what do? We put great big windows and doors in the house where we can open it all up and let nature come in, and then we build things like steam showers and just bringing that moisture in there. There's so many different things you have to know about. Like, you cannot just go out. Please do not do this. If you just have a regular shower right now and put a steam generator in there, you cannot do that because it'll feel good, but it's going to ruin your house. But yeah, that's probably a big point. Anything else that you're thinking about?
There's a big focus on aging in place, and even if you're not putting grab bars in now, you're planning for it. Putting backing in the wall and having a plan. And I think manufacturers are doing a really good job of making a lot of those products look better. The touchless faucet that is actually pretty. Things like that. Yeah,
that is pretty cool. I think that's usually a almost like a fictional view of the future. Like they're like, we need all this stuff. I'm like, by the time you need that, your kids are going to move you into a home. So what they ought to be doing is saving their money on the grab bars and just putting a down payment on I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. Don't tell my mom and dad are going to listen to this and they're going to be like, they're going to change me. I agree with all that stuff. This cold plunge thing, I don't agree with. I think that's crazy. I don't.
Ditto.
Durability and maintenance. So I was on Gary Sullivan's show the other day and on 1500, and we were talking about he called it home hardening, and this is making your house more solid proof for the future, making your house more putting more durable things in the house. And do we see this in plumbing fixtures? And or what, like when you talk about durability, I mean, how what do we look at here for durability in a plumbing fixture?
Well, what a lot of people don't know, and this honestly goes across most manufacturers, is you have a limited lifetime warranty on faucet finishes. as an example.
Yeah.
Right. So while some other things may go wrong, you may have to replace a cartridge in a valve. It's really not that big a deal. Your expectation is that finish can last a lifetime. Biggest thing you don't do is clean it with any chemicals.
Yeah.
You wipe it down with a dry cloth or a slightly wet, damp rag, and you're done.
Yeah.
And that'll preserve those faucets for a long, long, long time.
And I would encourage people to change those cartridges. And most people probably don't even have a clue of what we're talking about. But if you wait too long to change the cartridge, you're going to just rip it out of the wall and can't get it out. So it's really important. We had a big change, and I tell people this all the time. When we went from copper water lines to CPVC and now to Uponor PEX, and I feel like in faucets, that this change, people thought we were doing it because we're builders and we're tight asses, but it's more because it's just innovative. And the main reason why we switched is because as soon as we put the copper lines in there, somebody come in and steal it all, and they don't just take it apart. When they steal it, they rip it out and make everything crazy for it. But what I've noticed in the plumbing fixtures is we don't have to, it's probably less wear and tear on them because you don't have as much of those zinc deposits and all this stuff from the solder, from the copper running through those lines. And then we had the screens on the bottom of the supply for the faucet that used to make the water spray all over the place because it had so much junk in the water. And now we don't have that anymore. Does that make a big difference in those suppliers? I know we're talking a lot about plumbing, but does that make a big difference, do you think?
For sure.
Yeah. And the build of the faucet. And these are things that people have to talk about.
Oh, absolutely.
And then budgeting for luxury fixtures. And this is always tough. We talked about this briefly before. How do you look at something and say, here's what you need to, because I mean, as easy as a salesperson and look at us and go, well, they're building, a $3-4 million house. This faucet is just stupid expensive. This is what we're going to do. How do you look at this and balance it out? How do you describe in your own mind or how do you build something on paper to understand where that budget needs to be? Obviously we told you something, but
I mean, often we're, putting together an example package, pulling in, what mid-range or whatever, wherever you need to be, and seeing that on paper. That's you all do that. You have set rooms and packages for if you want to, like I said, the tub is a big upgrade. If you want a car wash shower, lots of shower heads. There's certain areas that can really drive that budget up. So kind of knowing what they're looking for, if the smart toilets or bidets, things that are high dollar, can really affect that budget.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to say about, what is it that the client is really after, right? And I know that you probably have an exhausting number of questions that you ask them on the front side about what their expectations are. And we do the same thing when they come in. Some people just aren't interested in a Wolf dual fuel range because they don't cook, or they just think it's pretty, but they're not ready to spend $14,000 on it.
Yeah.
Right. And so what are the other options? There's a lot of product that work very well that may not be nearly as expensive as a particular product that they're interested in. Right. And that really goes to lighting. It goes to plumbing, and it goes to appliances. I mean, there's such a wide range out there. Really comes down to the importance of the client and how they're going to use it or not use it in their home.
Yeah. I agree 100%. I think people come to us. The reason why we put those packets together, and it's not a package that we do by any means, it's an example, because people don't go and buy plumbing fixtures every day. They don't buy light fixtures every day. They don't buy appliances. So we can show them the cost of things, show them the finishes, and start talking about what they looks like. I'm positive that they are not thinking about what their powder room fixture looks like when they walk in the door to talk to me about building their house. And I don't know, I've always wondered this, if we have too many selections for them, because we let them go wild, do whatever you want. I mean, that's a point of building a custom house, but it's so overwhelming to the people to understand how much they're actually doing and picking out and looking at every single thing. And just what we're talking about here. How long do you think an appointment is for one of our customers over at Ferguson?
Well, we try to keep it to 2 hours, and then set up per appointment, and then set up a follow up, because past that you get tired. Any selections you make, you end up revisiting or changing. But I think having that example, obviously it's not what they're going to choose later, but at least gives a starting point. Plus, it's a complete package. It's if you just go start looking at faucets online, get an idea of pricing, do you have the valve included? Do you have drains? Plumbing, there's lots of small parts and pieces that have to be added on where, it helps if we're communicating and setting that budget up front, and then putting it together for them.
Do you have your own preference on who you like better out of over one or the other?
Like better for what?
For me. No, for builders. Like, who's your favorite builder? No, I'm just kidding. So who's your favorite, like your faucets and stuff? You probably don't want to say it, but do you look at something and be like, this is what I like. This is what I want to use.
Well, I really like to sell the brands that give us good support.
Yeah.
Having a rep's cell phone number when I need it is invaluable, and it helps me do a better job of taking care of issues when those arise.
Yeah.
So, build.com is our website, which is, fantastic. But there's a lot of things that came with that from the internet. And so again, that's where our consultants are great at, advising brands that not only have great warranties and good quality, but we have good support from.
She did a really good job avoiding that question, didn't she?
She did.
Good job.
She did.
I'm really proud
trained.
of you.
She was trained well.
Channel 5 called. They've got an interview for you to do at 6. So one of the reasons why we stick to mowing is because we were with a different supplier, and this was 16 years ago or something like that. And they were just not. They were not giving us what we wanted. It was more like, here's your 4-inch spread single handle faucet, and do you want it in chrome or chrome? And I'm like, oh, listen, man, that's not what we want. And so I was talking to John. I got pissed off enough at him. Basically, I think I wanted them to give me something for Home Rama, and they wouldn't give it to me. So I'm like, all right, I'm leaving. and which makes my decision. Everybody makes decisions different ways. So we ended up with John with mowing, and mowing does so many different things for us. For one, like you said, I've got a cell phone. I've got everything I need from him. If I have an issue or I have a question or something, he's always on the team for Wheeling Builders. If there's a home rama going, we're building something for our personal houses or something like that, he's always there. What can we do and how can we do it? Yeah. But they also do things like they'll do a geographic study for wherever we're getting ready to build at. If we were building in neighborhoods back in the day, and he would say, here's what the general demographic of that area is, and what mowing's done as far as research on that. And I thought that was pretty cool. Just the support is super important, like you said.
Absolutely.
I don't think you can isolate a product without some of those other components that may or may not necessarily come to light during a particular process of someone building a home. But we certainly can't do our job effectively and resolve issues and manage through the supply chain without the support that we have. Everything obviously that we have on the floor in the Ferguson showrooms, we have a lot of support behind it. So, we're not afraid to talk about any of those products.
Yeah.
But our consultants also do a really good job of asking the right questions of your clients so that we're not showing or talking about all of those products. Yeah. We can drill that down pretty quickly based on the answers that they give us.
Yeah. That's so important. So what do you think the most expensive, most high end faucet you've ever sold, or most high end appliance, or whatever it is? What that you looked at it and you're like, holy cow.
We have a kitchen faucet in our showroom that is $5,000.
Yeah, $5,500, I think. Yeah,
$5,500, and it is not solid gold.
No,
it's unique.
It's cool.
It's very interesting.
Who makes it?
Waterstone.
Okay. All right.
Specialty manufacturer. They only make things that turns out are kind of expensive.
That thing better do more than just put water in those sinks for $5,000.
But when you want a signature piece, and the important thing to you isn't necessarily that you turn the cold on and cold comes out, but you want something more.
Yeah.
It's like lighting. Some of this product is art, jewelry for your home, right? And it's got to fit your budget, obviously, if you have one. But yeah, there's some fantastic product out there if you want to take a flyer on something a little bit unique and different.
That's a good way to describe it. It's all like art. It's an appreciation for what you want to look at all the time. And what people say in the art world is if you don't love it, same thing with cowboy boots. If you don't love them, don't buy them. and this is, I feel like it's kind of the same thing with plumbing fixtures. It shouldn't, for us, I always tell people one of our goals years ago was to stop saying the word but and just. And you should never be buying something for a wheel and build home that's just this or it's just that. You want to make sure that it's going to be wow. You're going to fall in love with it. You always have to love it. You can't just like, yeah, I guess I like it. You want to love it. Same thing with the plumbing fixtures. You have to do it. It's not just about function. I built a house in 2010 for a guy who had a lot of money, and he was like, "Come over and help me hang some pictures." After he moved in, and I was hanging some stuff on the walls for him, and I'm thinking, no big deal. I've got a 32 ounce East Wing hammer, and I'm up there putting little pins in there, and I hung this piece of art for him in his family room, and he goes, "Yeah," he said, "I got a real good deal on that one." He goes, "I paid $32,000 for it," and I looked at it and I was like, someone's seen you coming, because it looks like something my son could have drawn. But I mean, it's a piece of art, and he knows what he's looking at. I clearly don't know what I'm looking at, but you appreciate it, I mean, and I think that's the reason why somebody would pay $5,000 for a plumbing fixture. What else we got? Do you guys have anything else you want to say? Because I know you have notes.
I got a lot of notes. Really, the thing that I want to say isn't on my sheet. I lived right beside you for 2 years. I don't think you ever walked over and helped me hang a picture.
Really?
I didn't even realize you were a builder at the time.
Did I offer you a beer at any point in time?
You did offer
That's
me beers.
all you need right there. Good Lord. Well, drinking us Bud Light and breaking bread. That's what we wanted. That's what you're right. I don't think I cut neighbor Doug's grass a couple times because I had to, because he didn't. But I would have done the same for you, but you did such a good job of taking care of that place. Well, I just want to say thank you guys for taking time out of your day to be here, for all the work you do with our team. I mean, we go down through our trade partners and our suppliers, and we talk about in our team, what are they doing right? What are they doing wrong? And we talk about a number of different things, but one of the questions that's on there is, are they on the team? Are they on Wheel and Builder's team? Which means that, do you have Wheel and Builder's best interest in mind? Do you have our customers' best interest in mind? What are you doing here that is going to make everything better for our customers? And you guys are definitely the heart of it, and you're a part of it. And I'm just grateful for it. I'm grateful to have that relationship with you guys. So thank you very much.
We're super excited to be here and really value you as a trade partner, and look forward to keeping this thing going.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for everybody at Ferguson. This is Sarah Muri and Mark Waflart from Ferguson. Thank you guys for being here. All right. Well, there you have it, man. Sarah Muri and Mark Waflart from Ferguson Enterprises, and another great partner with Wheel and Builders here. And I've said it before about Lisa Abraham at Lighting FX. I've said it about Alex and Rob over at Custom Distributors, where we get our appliances at. And the same thing with Ferguson. I don't want our customers going over there and saying, "Do you want that one?" And they go, "Yep." And then they put it in a box and they start shopping. It's not like that. Sarah and Morgan, who is our person that's in the showroom, they have a knack for understanding design, and they look around the rooms and they think about the style of the room, and they think of the design, and they think about the person's personality, and they're looking up different ideas and thoughts, and they're putting it together for our customers. And then they start talking about how it operates and the ups and downs of it, and just always trying to do the best job that they possibly can for our customers. And we are grateful for people like this. So I just can't thank them guys enough. I'm grateful for Mark and Sarah both to take time out of their day to come over here and spend it with me talking, and talking about what they do, and talking about our relationship with Wheel and Builders. They are excellent people. Ferguson is a great company to do business with. And obviously, from what we heard from them, they are a great company to work for. So thanks again, Sarah and Mark. And Mark, I just want to say, for the record, I'm sorry I didn't come over and hang pictures for you. I did drink beer with you, though, so that makes up for it. Thanks again, guys, for being here. Hey, thank you, audience. Thank you, guys, for listening every week or every month, twice a month. It's so important to us, and I'm always grateful for all of you. The next episode, man, we got an awesome guest lined up for you. It is one of my very, very best friends, Matt Smith. And Matt and his dad and another guy, Joe Smith, but mainly Matt, started up this company called Siteworks. And Siteworks is a road builder, is what I call them. And we're going to hear his story of how he put this thing together. It's a great story. And I am every day, at least 2 or 3 times a day, I see a Siteworks truck driving down the road, and it brings my heart with so much pride to it for those guys, because it's just it's amazing what they've done. So that's our next guest. Be sure to tune in and listen to that story, because Matt and I we went to lunch and talked about this, and we have a lot of stories and a lot of cool things to talk about. If you want to subscribe to the WB Download, please do so on your favorite podcast service, but also jump over to YouTube and check us out on YouTube and listen over there, and boost our ratings for Google and YouTube for what we do here on the WB Download. If you want to be part of the conversation, give us some topics that you want to cover, or if you want to be a guest on the show, email me at wbdownload@wielandbuilders.com. That's WIELAND builders.com. And if you want to check out behind the scenes and see some really cool houses and what we're all about here at Wieland Builders, check us out at wielandbuilders.com, WIELAND builders.com. Thank you again, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Mark and Sarah from Ferguson, for being on the show today. It's been awesome, and we appreciate everything you do with us here at Wieland Builders. I'm Jeff Wieland on the WB Download.